Today we are very happy to have with us a guest who's going to talk about a new area of assisting elderly patients, clients, and their families. How are you today?
I'm great.
If you'd like to tell the audience, give us your name and your company, please.
Sure. My name is Corrine Markey, and I own professional management services for seniors. What we do is daily money management, financial, business, household, and personal affairs management. Some of those tasks include paying bills, reconciling tax statements, pulling together tax records, documents for your accountants, pulling together legal records, reviewing hospital statements, making sure insurance premiums such as long-term care is paid so that the policies don't lapse. If they need a change in residence, whether it's going back to their children out of state or going into an assisted living or a nursing home, we can help the family with that. So that's pretty much overall what we do.
How long has your company been in business?
We've been in business just for this year, started in 2014.
Well, how did you get in? How did you decide that there was a need for this?
Businesses need to start off, need to fill a need. I came to Florida 3 years ago when my single aunt became terminally ill and was no longer able to live on her own. I didn't know anything about medical or elderly. My parents died when I was 30, but there was no one else in the family who could do this. So I quit my job and I moved down here from Ohio and moved in with her. She had congestive heart failure. She was on oxygen 24/7 and she had macular degeneration, so she was legally blind. I took over all of her doctor's visits. I became her medical surrogate, which meant I made all the decisions as to which operations to go ahead with, which ones may be too risky, of course with the direction of the physicians. And when I first came down here, the physicians roughly estimated she might have about 12 months to live because her heart situation was inoperable. Well, as it turned out, she lived 26 months. And I lived with her for the first 8 months. Then she really required assisted living as she became more frail. From that point on, I was at the assisted living place several times a week. I managed all of her care there. I trained as aides there to change the oxygen because she was on an in-room oxygen, but to go to meals and anywhere else, she had to be on portable oxygen. I made sure that she had her hair done, that she had the showers, that she had whatever she'd like. She wanted a different room. We got the rooms changed. And at the same time, I was continuing to pay all her bills, managing the house that she still had in her name, making sure that wherever she needed to go, she got to. If there was in one case, she needed a lung drain, we had to go to a hospital in Plantation, which was much further than she'd ever ventured before. The other thing I made sure finding the right partners for her in her dining room table within assisted living. It was there that I realized that there are a plethora of people out there who need this service. She happened to be single, but there's surviving spouses who are overwhelmed, whether they're men or women. They may never have paid the bills, but they may have, but they're grieving. They're not certain of what they're doing, and their health is deteriorating, whether it's their mental health or their physical health. They're forgetful. They start paying bills for example, a tax statement that says this is not a bill. They pay those. They're getting solicitations from charities, 2 or 3 in a day in the mail. They're giving everyone $20 or $30. There's a great deal of fraud for seniors. People who knock on their door, telephones. Identity theft is becoming a huge issue. I give all of my family's identity theft measures, and then when and if, unfortunately, they become victims of identity theft, I spring into action and do whatever it takes to close all the holes, basically.
You know, as I'm sitting here listening, I have to just admire you when you stepped in for your aunt, how lucky she was to have someone like you. And then the next thought I have is how many people out there as they're aging don't have family members. They don't have someone like you. It seems to me as an elder law attorney that this financial exploitation, neglect, abuse, all of these types of things, it just seems like an epidemic. It's so sad. These people are vulnerable. Most of them have worked, that I have dealt with, have worked very hard, mm-hmm. and whatever they've accumulated, they're trusting. They're not tech savvy, and they get an email or they get a call, and they're generous and they want to help. And then these people, they're like magnets for these types of abusers. Mm-hmm. Well, it's just amazing. How are you finding the response out there to your services?
People are so glad there's someone like me. Occasionally I meet someone, they say, oh, if I only knew about you 2 years ago. If I only knew about you 6 months ago. Then I received an email yesterday from someone I've known, and he said, my mother just paid a bill that said do not pay. My father wants me to pay the bills. He is not getting along with his siblings, and he is reluctant to take over that task for that reason, which is common in families. He said, we'd like you to do this service for us. And so you have many families that don't have anyone to turn to. Many children are out of state. We're a very mobile society right now. You have some siblings who are out of state and others who are in state, but sometimes they're second guessing. And then you have these issues that are just popping up. Another issue is IRA distributions. One of my clients a year ago, an IRA came due, and he wanted to be more liquid, and so he decided to put it into a savings account. Well, as you might imagine, it immediately became taxable. Right. And there was a gigantic tax expense. Right now, I've put him on automatic withdrawals, right. And that takes care of the issue. Right. And so there's just a wide range. Some of it is fraudulent and intended, and others is just people haven't thought about it.
Right. One thing that I deal with is when they make these transfers, even if it's legit, it can disqualify them for Medicaid, and they've got a 5-year look-back period, and it can be catastrophic. Then they're thrown off of Medicaid, then they can't afford. So if you don't have somebody there intervening, it's really sad. And I've dealt with numbers of home health providers and those types of people, and bless their hearts, they do a lot of this, mm-hmm. but they have time constraints. They have other patients, mm-hmm. so they'll try to do this, that, a little bit, but they cannot, and nor are they really qualified. So they're doing, it's like the blind leading the blind.
Yes.
And that, even the best intentions, mm-hmm. they can have really bad results. Mm-hmm. What kind of background do you have that would put you in this position?
Well, I have a degree in economics from way back from Northeastern University in Boston, and I have an MBA from Harvard University. So I have had a business career most of my life. I've actually had 2 other successful businesses, so I'm more of an entrepreneur by nature, mm-hmm. But I'm a very compassionate, understanding person. You can sort of see there's a balance of business there and compassion, and that's really an ideal person for this type of work. You have to have a head for numbers. I paid some bills today. I got an emergency call. They said the caregiving company hadn't been paid in 3 months, and we owed them several tens of thousands of dollars. I said I would write a check today. They emailed the bills to me. Well, when I got to the checkbook and I went back, I found that 2 of those bills actually had been paid and the check had cleared. So you have to sort of think about all aspects. And then the company said they'd been trying to get in touch with me. So they weren't trying to get double paid. They made an error, but before I had the check signed, we took care of it.
But there are certainly those cases, if they double pay, they're most likely not going to get that money back. or instead of double paying, they could be overbilled
Right.
very, very easily.
Mm-hmm.
It's funny, I was looking at a medical bill she must have been in her 80s. She just didn't understand why the hospital bill was so great. So we had the $6 aspirins and all this, but when I came down, the first thing, the pregnancy test. So needless to say, we dealt with that at the administrative level, so that was taken off of that bill. What is your typical client like?
The typical client is 75 or older. Generally having children, adult children out of the area, but not always. If they have one or two children here, the others are often out of the area. They're generally surviving spouses, although I have some couples. Sometimes there are no children. The family just never had children, and they don't really have anyone. I have single people who actually are aging and there's no one they can lean on. They're often asking me who I can think of to be their medical surrogate, for example.
Right.
So I try and talk them through various options and figure out what friends and family they have. But those are the types of clients I generally have. I also have some people in their 60s. They've had polio, they've had strokes on top of that. They've had other infirmities, Vietnam War veterans with Agent Orange, and they now have diseases or chronic situations where they really can't concentrate on the bill paying and the household operations.
And it sounds like you're a good liaison between those siblings. Maybe they're not communicating, or one is jealous or not trusting of another. You're that independent person that they can.
The siblings often feel that one sibling's going to get more money in the end than the other, or that they might be paying bills themselves.
Which does happen.
Which does happen. I actually have E&O insurance of $1 million underwritten by Lloyd's of London
Very
to
impressive.
protect the families in case I do make a mistake. I put the check in the wrong envelope, and that gives the families a great deal of comfort that I'm going to do the right thing.
Do you do any liaison work with the healthcare providers that come into this situation?
I actually maintain a resource directory of a wide variety of possible service providers, ranging from healthcare to attorneys, to accountants, to roofing companies, to construction companies for modification. And if whatever the services the family needs, if they don't have them when I walk in the door, I find out what the needs are and give them 2 or 3 or 4 based on their criteria that they can look at, and I can also walk them through the process.
So you interface with elder law attorneys?
I do.
Are you finding that attorneys are getting up on the learning curve in this area of dealing with elderly patients?
Yes, I think there's a good pool of elder attorneys here now in Southeast Florida, ones that are trustworthy and people that I would be happy to deal with. And the law is very specific. It's different than just estate and probate. There's many other issues, and generally the elder attorneys are also estate and probate attorneys. Right. So they're sort of presenting an entire package. And those are the attorneys that are really going to be very helpful for what I would define as our older seniors today and the baby boomers coming up, who are really the younger seniors. Right.
The court system I have found is so overburdened. Mm-hmm. They've had staffing cuts, and they're dependent upon people like us mm-hmm. to actually go down there and make the case and advise them. It's impossible. It's an impossible job, and it's the population out there is aging and growing. Mm-hmm. So this is fascinating. Have you had any client that you can remember that you've had some amazing success with?
I think, there's a number of clients that I'm usually brought in at a critical point. Things are not in good order. There's often tax statements everywhere, social security numbers on many tables. You often, in one case, I spent the first few days with a client and their family, and I shredded 2 garbage bags worth of old tax documents, etc., trying to get them so that there were people walking in and out, caregivers, computer repair people, home repair people, with all this information everywhere. So then I started doing the bill paying. I took care of all the bill paying. This person happens to be in their 90s, but they're sound of mind, sound of body, they exercise, wonderful person, lost his wife a few years ago. Daughters one lives on one coast, one lives in the Northeast. They are active, but they are far away. Then we found out this particular person we determined was the victim of identity theft. I learned this one Sunday morning when the daughter from California called me at 9 a.m. East Coast time and said, "We have a problem. How soon can you get there?" And I told her I would be there within an hour, and I spent the entire Sunday sorting it out and cleaning it up. There were a few more days and a few more hours after that, but when I left on Sunday, he was in pretty good shape. I don't upcharge for that. I feel that's just part of what we do. And they did, so I destroyed all of the credit cards that he wasn't using. On Monday when the banks opened, I called all the banks and all of the credit card companies. We put a hold on everything through credit agencies. There's now a no application designation for all 3 credit agencies for 12 years. He will not live beyond 12 years. He doesn't need any more credit. So I knew what to do, and he's well protected. I do things like I helped him with his election ballot this year. He wanted to know all about the candidates. I pulled this person happens to read 3 newspapers a day. But I pulled information off of the internet from the local newspaper, went through all the candidates, read, this is what each one is in favor of. He decided who to vote for. We filled in the ballot. I got it mailed. So it really runs the gamut of what I do for the family.
When you come into some of these situations, though, do you encounter distrust? They don't know who you are, or they're maybe disoriented. How do you handle that?
Well, I'm always referred in. Okay. Now, I've had people call me up from the internet as well, so I'm sure I will have clients from that. But at this point in time, everything's been referrals, and so they already have thought, well, we probably should at least try this person. I sit down, I give them a 30-minute consultation at no charge. If the children don't happen to be present and they're out in the area, I give them another 30 minutes. We do it on Skype or on FaceTime so that they can sort of see me. In addition to the insurance that I have, I'm what's called a certified senior advisor. That is an in-depth designation. It's a 40-hour course, a very tough exam. Not everyone passes. And they can talk to prior clients. I have many clients that are more than willing to talk to families because they know that they were in that situation.
So that's a professional association?
Yes.
And okay.
It's a nationwide professional association.
That's very, very interesting. I certainly would anticipate that's going to grow.
I would think so. And people who are certified senior advisors, we have healthcare people that are certified senior advisors. We have pastors, priests, rabbis who are certified senior advisors. People like me are certified senior advisors. The education is soup to nuts on what the seniors are facing. Mm-hmm. On top of that, I'm a member of the American Association of Daily Money Managers, and that is strictly for the money management. I'm in the process of getting certified for that. I have to have 1,500 hours of just the money management, the bill paying, right, the tax statements, etc. So that will take me probably another year.
So you certainly do things that you're not in competition with the CPAs. They take all of your information and they process that, so you're an adjunct to them also. That's very interesting.
With the CPAs, with the attorneys, I do not give any advice. any professional advice. I don't give any tax advice. I don't give any legal advice.
Right.
As I said, I maintain a resource directory, and if the clients don't have someone that they already have hired for those purposes, I give them some to look at, and they make a decision. So it works. In this case, actually, this morning I got an email from their CPA firm. They said, can you put all of their things on your QuickBooks? In this case, there's personal expenses for this family. They also have a business out of state that is generating a great deal of money. So the CPA said this will make it much cheaper for them when we do their taxes.
Absolutely. You know, when I'm approached by a client, and especially with the family, I have to try to figure out, okay, what are their problems? How do we develop a strategy? Well, then very quickly after that, I have to get information. And it's like, they look at me and it's like pulling teeth. You know, I have to hold their hand, and that's where I need someone like you. Go out there, and so we have realistic quality information. Otherwise, you know, we're just very easily able to make a mistake.
Absolutely. I've created a document called the Personal Affairs Record, which is an 11-page document, but most of it is space because people are handwriting in the information. It includes all of their advisors, their attorneys, their CPAs, their estate planners, their clergy, their friends and family. It includes all their accounts information, where everything is stored. It actually includes all of their sort of end-of-life wishes, including do they want their body donated to science? What kind of music, if any, do they want at their celebration? Much more in depth than just filling out a will and saying this family member is going to get this or this family member is going to get this. Do they want flowers? Or do they want money donated in lieu of to their causes?
Do you find that people are reluctant to talk about that or not?
My clients are not. And I'm a pretty compassionate. The other thing, and generally in a pretty short order, I can make the families feel comfortable. What they're buying, and for me, purchasing my services, is competency and trust. I become a trusted family advisor.
Right. Have you ever served as a guardian or a trustee?
I have not served as a guardian, and I'm about to serve as a trustee.
Okay, there's all kinds of legal implications there, but that's something I'm finding a lot of issues with. Who can be the personal representative, or who can be the trustee? And sometimes you may have that one child that's good at that, but then there's the lack of trust issues with the rest of the family, or there may be nobody that really understands who do you get. So there's a big need out there for that.
A need for the trustee. There's often a need for the medical surrogate, someone to make the medical decisions.
Right.
I've been that. You don't have to have an MD to make these decisions. You just have to be smart and ask the right questions so that you act in the best interest of the client and their family.
Right. Do you have any competition out there in what you're doing?
This is pretty much a new concept in that it's all encompassing. I am really the family's operation in the household. I'm a commissioned notary public. Whatever they need, when you go, for example, when you go to the credit agencies, in order to move power of attorneys to the children, that has to be notarized. I can just sit down, I'm right there, and we do everything all at once.
You know, that's a problem, because you get an elderly client. Sometimes I need to get them in here. They have sight problems, and they have hearing problems, and mobility problems. In order to get witnesses and notaries, you know, sometimes like you, I'll go there, but then I'm scrounging around to get the two witnesses and things like that. So you certainly fill a lot of needs out there. I think this is fascinating, and I'm sure there are a lot of the people that are on the Eldercare channel are going to be interested in learning more of what you do.
Yes, and we are in Southeast Florida. I cover all 3 counties, but I also have a Hispanic assistant that works for me part-time, and so in certain cases I've needed to have documents translated on someone's hard drive, and he comes with me. I tell my clients you're getting 2 for 1 during this session.
So we have so many Spanish speakers here, that's not a problem for you either?
No, it's not.
Well, that's wonderful. I know there's such a big demand for this. it's just such a pleasure to be part of this, to get to know you, and I look forward to using you with my elder law clients.
Well, David, thank you very much.
Thank you.